So perhaps before we start this class properly, I should draw your attention to some of the props that I've got around me. So you can get them ready now at the beginning and not have to be getting up and down off your mat and looking for things. I've designed this sequence in a way that hopefully we can move from one practice to the next really smoothly, disturbing ourselves as little as possible. So I have got here 2 pillows, and while one pillow might do the trick, actually if you can get 2, I think you'll find that's going to be really good. So they're just ordinary bed pillows. These are quite fluffy, firm ones. So you could even get 3 if you had 3, but I would go for at least 2 pillows if you can. I've also got here a scarf. And the scarf we'll use when we get to the longer relaxation to cover our eyes. You might have, rather than a scarf, an eye pillow or a clean sock, or just a little something, a flannel, something like that you can cover your eyes. I've got at the ready a couple of blankets, and to make things easier, I'm going to open them up. So if you've got blankets and they're folded, I suggest you open them up. Don't look quite so neat and tidy, but it will make things easier for you to work with the blankets and pull them over you when you're in resting positions if you find that you get a little cold, need some warmth. And I've got a cushion, just a little square cushion of the kind you might have on your settee. And yes, the cushion is additional to the pillows. So if you're able to gather all those things, wonderful. I suspect you could make substitutions with yoga bolsters, piles of blankets. I think you'll find, once you see what we're doing, that you'll be able to make substitutions if necessary. And we're going to start kneeling. So I'm kneeling on the floor. If this position that I'm in here is not comfortable for you, you could kneel up on your knees, more like standing on your knees. Or you could do this beginning part of the class sitting on a chair on the edge of your settee. I will show you I have actually got a block between my feet to kneel on as well for a bit of support. So it doesn't matter that much, but something where your upper body is in a nice upright position. You can pull your shoulders up towards your ears and then drop them down. Turn your palms upward, and with an inhalation, make a little circle with your arms. And exhaling, bring your arms back around onto your lap. And we'll do this about 4 or 5 times, just to feel into how we're breathing, how we're moving. It's not particularly difficult. It needn't be particularly difficult. It's quite soft. Just allowing yourself to arrive and to feel into your body. Stretch your fingers a little bit. And fairly easy, natural breathing. Just one more time. And then leave your hands down on your lap, palms up or down. And I'd like you to imagine that you were blowing on the embers of a fire. You know when you've had a fire and it's kind of gone out and it's just little sparks in the embers and you can blow on them through your lips and encourage those embers to flame up. So if you've got no idea what I'm talking about, you get a very hot face doing this in real life onto real embers. If you've got no idea what I'm talking about, basically we're blowing out through the lips. So it might feel a little bit like blowing through a straw. But I like this image of blowing on the embers because our theme for this session is to do with fire and kindling a flame. And a good fire relies on at least 2 things. So one, preparing the space for the fire and clearing the grate, if you like, clearing the space. And we thought a little bit more about that in the previous session. And then it requires good airflow, so air getting in from above. And that's more the focus of this evening's session. We'll be working a bit more with the upper body, the space above the diaphragm, and kindling the fire from above. So relax that breathing practice now. And I'd like you to see if you could breathe in and out just through your nostrils. And that rubbing feeling, the friction that you had over your lips previously when you were blowing on the fire in front of you, let there be that friction in your throat. So there's a little rubbing here in the throat. Some of you will know this breathing technique as the Ujjayi breath. But could there be a sense in which now the fire that you're kindling is the fire inside you? So we're not blowing into the space in front of us, but somehow with this Ujjayi breath, there's a sense of kindling a flame, kindling the fire within. And the element of fire is expressed through yoga practice or through our being, in our body or in our being, in two main ways. One is the fire of our digestion. So you might, as you practice this Ujjayi breathing, just be curious about how it's feeling around the navel. And the other is the fire of our attention or our mind. So fire is the light by which we are able to perceive, to see things, to process things. Fire is transformational, so we can digest food and we can digest stimulus, we can digest input, information, our intellect. So it kind of has a relevance in two different ways. So I'd like you now to inhale, take your arms out to the sides, interlace your fingers above your head, and exhale, place the palms of your hands down onto the top of your head. And continue with this Ujjayi breath, but make a particular point as you exhale of pressing the top of your head gently into the palms of your hands. So there's a slight tendency when we exhale to sort of slump or collapse. And what I'm hoping with our hands on our heads like this and an awareness of moving the head upward on the exhale into the palms of the hands is that we might resist any temptation or any chance of slumping. And each time we breathe out, we're actually staying quite still. We're keeping the torso very open and upright. And it may just be that you start to feel these flames in the abdomen gently kindling, a sense of heat around the abdomen, or just a sense of the abdomen gently drawing in and back towards the spine. So let's do just one more like that, and then with an inhalation, lift your arms up above your head. And exhale, bring your arms around to the side and just relax. So relax your breathing, roll your shoulders, you can rub your tummy. And we're going to move into our hands and knees position and just do a little something to stretch the soles of the feet slightly. And again, okay, so we're going to be on all fours with the toes tucked under, and you sink your hips back towards your heels, so you start to feel the soles of your feet stretching. Now you're in charge of this, so you can come straight back and put lots of weight on your feet, or you might like to more gingerly come up and down and warm your toes up a little bit. We're moving in the direction of something like this, so hips back on your heels, arms reaching forward, and forehead all the way down on the floor, or perhaps if you've got a yoga block or a brick or a big book or a little pile of cushions, you can place your forehead like so. So it doesn't have to be the floor can reach your head. You may need to take your knees a bit wider to be comfortable. So you play around with it, see if you can get this comfortable. And if you can't, just keep it moving a little bit. So lifting the hips, and you can release the toes and sink back down. So finding a way that this might be doable, or just allowing yourself to sink back and settle. And pick up again your Ujjayi breathing. See if you can imagine two long pipes that connect the tips of your middle fingers to the sitting bones in the base of your pelvis. So they travel down the length of both arms and down either side of your back. And imagine that the breath were moving in and out, up and down those two long pipes. So we'll stay just another 30 seconds or so here. It's passive, but it might feel quite strong. It's quite stretchy. You can ease yourself up quite gently back to an all-fours position. Untuck your toes, give them a little wiggle. Give your hips a little rock from side to side. And we're going to now make a lovely arch with our back, a bit like a cat that just woke up from a snooze. So you let your chin tuck in, drop your head between your arms. Imagine you had a tail that was heavy and could drop towards the floor behind you. And let your whole back round. And we're going to make this movement with some nice long breaths, out breaths. So if you come back to more of a flat back position, you inhale here, and then with a nice long exhalation, come into that lovely arch cat pose. And we'll do this 4 or 5 times. So inhale, flat back, and you can lift your gaze, look up. Exhale, nice and long and slow, rounding your back. And maybe feeling how by the end of the exhalation, your lower belly can draw in and back towards your spine. For some people, it feels even better to get this rounding through the back, and then also pull the hips back towards the heels so as to deepen the sensation of stretching in the back of the body. If that's you, go ahead. So deep rounding for the back and a deep emptying for the lungs. Last one. And then just be at ease, relax your breathing, have a little wiggle through your shoulders, through your hips. And we're going to come to the first of our practices that utilizes all this equipment that I asked you to assemble, but potentially not in the way that you're expecting. So if you could get your 2 pillows and put them at the top end of your mat, or where you're doing this practice, as if you were making a pillow to put your head on. And have them, but don't have them how you normally would. So don't put them horizontal, put them vertical. And then I'd like you to lie down, but not put your head on the pillows, just to be awkward. So it looks something like this. You lie down on your back with your head not quite on the pillows. So the pillows might just touch the top of your head, but your head is very much on the floor. Keep your knees bent. So lie on your back, but keep your knees bent up and have your feet rooting down into the floor. Place your arms down by your sides. And just have a little test of the waters here. So I'd like you to be able to take your arms up, all the way up, and rest them on the pillows. So you might find you want an extra pillow, or that you actually need the pillows wider. There is a cunning reason why I put my pillows this way, but if you need them a bit wider, just put them widthways. Okay, and then place your arms down by your sides and place your head so that your chin is in line with your breastbone, and feel welcome to close your eyes because you know what we're about to do, so you don't need to watch me. Just wiggle your toes a little bit and feel that you can put some weight through your feet onto the floor. Nice earthy feet. Begin to use ujjayi breath, so you have this feeling of slight rubbing in the throat. Nice and soft and smooth and regular. And then with an inhalation, take your arms up above your head, all the way so they just touch on the pillows. And exhaling, bring your arms back down by your sides. And we're going to do that about 4 times. So some of you will have a faster breath and some of you will have a slower breath. So the number isn't that important, but just moving the arms with the breath. So we're concentrating a little bit so that all the time you're breathing in, your arms are on their journey up. All the time you're breathing out, your arms are on their journey back down. And let's do just one more and see if you can really concentrate on the exhalation, so that at the end of the exhalation, the fingertips of both hands touch down on the mat at exactly the same time. And then be at ease, relax your breathing. Notice any sensations across your upper back and in your shoulders. Let your breath settle. And then begin to use ujjayi breathing again. So a more deliberate, channeled breath. With an inhalation, take your arms all the way above your head to the pillows. And this time as you exhale, leave them there. And we're going to leave the arms on the pillows for 4 rounds of breath. So the body stays still, the arms rest above your head, but the breath continues to move. With the arms resting above your head, maybe you can feel how the chest lifts and opens slightly. And as the body stays very still, perhaps you can feel again at the end of the exhalation how the belly button draws in slightly and back towards the spine. There's a sensation in the abdomen. When you've done 4, or when you feel done with this, with an exhalation, lower your arms back down by your sides, all the way down. And again, be at ease, relax your breathing back to just normal, easy, effortless, natural breath. And what I'd like you to do now is roll over onto one side. And it doesn't really matter which side, but I'd suggest roll to the side where it's easiest for you to look at your screen and see what I'm doing. And at this point, you can pull the pillows in under your head. So they're perfectly already in exactly the right position for you to pull them in under your head. And having 2 is a really good idea because you normally need a bit more support for your head when you're lying on your side. If you've got your cushion handy, you can put that between your knees just for a little bit of extra padding there. And your bottom arm, it's quite easy to kind of squish your shoulder here. And the top of your arm. So what I suggest you do is you sort of slide your arm away from you until you're resting more almost on your upper back, on your shoulder blade. So it's not that you're lying all the way back, but you can just have a little wiggle there and find you can get this underside arm quite comfortable. And that's quite important because we're going to stay here a little while and hopefully start to have a feeling of the underside of the body being very heavy and very rooted I'm actually going to use the word muddy. So we had a session previously when I talked about earth and water kind of forming mud. So it's a bit like that, like the underside of your body could be in the earth, really rooted, really heavy. And as we stay here for a little while, apparently it's a fact that our bodies are in fact 70% water. So perhaps you could just have a sense of all the water in the body just gradually over the next few breaths sinking down towards the earth. So where your body now, where the side of your body meets the earth, is starting to get this kind of nice, heavy, muddy feeling, really rooted and settled. And then out of that mud, we're going to grow a little shoot. We're going to grow a plant. So I'd like to let your top arm just lift up into the air. So this is your little shoot. And just like a little shoot, I don't know, I've got some sunflowers growing at the minute. And when you watch a plant growing, it never looks tense, does it? It's not like it's reaching, there's no effort. It just sort of unfurls. So you might like to wiggle your fingers or circle your wrists to keep this nice and soft, and with a sense of just gently finding the space above you that this arm could lift up into. And it's almost quite magical, but there will be a place, it might take you a little while to find it, but there will be a place where you get to a point and you think, oh, you can almost just completely relax all the muscles in your arm and it doesn't fall down. It's quite weird. It can just sort of float. So see if you can get that floaty feeling. It's possible that if you have a shoulder issue or an injury, something that might be happening, that this might not be so easy to feel. And so again, use your common sense. If you need to put your arm down on your hip or on the floor, have a little break, obviously do. So I'm offering this with the idea that it might be quite effortless. Doesn't require a lot of effort, it's just sort of floaty. So all the weight in the body is in the underside, and the top side of the body is actually quite spacious and light, so light that this arm can just float as if perhaps you had a hot air balloon attached to your wrist and it was just keeping your arm gently up in the air, nice and soft. And you might like to just stay like this for a little while with a floaty arm, or it might be nice to bring a bit of movement, more movement. So with that soft floaty arm, you can make a little shoulder movement, a little circle. It's very intuitive. Your movement might not look anything like my movement. And I'm going to show you a few ideas in case this doesn't feel like a nice movement to do. Sometimes it feels nicer to have your fingers on your shoulder and a little elbow circle. Or sometimes it feels nicer not to do any movement at all, so just to keep the arm floating up or to keep the arm resting down. Or from this resting position, you might find you can get a little shoulder shrug. So everybody's different, everybody's shoulders are different, and you'll know what you could put in here to just bring some attention to this area, so your top shoulder, in some way. It doesn't have to be the same as what I'm doing right now. So a little bit of movement, we'll carry on a little bit longer, and then we're going to see if we can settle for a little bit more stillness. Perhaps, and I say perhaps because it might not work for everyone, but perhaps a little bit something like this with our arm up over our head. So, and you've got the pillow there to rest your hand on, or rest the back of your hand on. Have a little play and see if you can get that comfortable. If you can't, don't grin and bear it, don't suffer in silence. Find some other way that you might be able to rest your arm down now. And maybe feeling just being able to put a bit of awareness into this top side ribs. So if it's possible to get your arm up like this, that really opens this space. But it's not worth doing it if it just makes you feel uncomfortable or grumpy. So we want to feel not grumpy, quite happy, quite at ease, quite peaceful. So as to perhaps even just let the eyes close now And for the next few rounds of breath, what would it be like if you were really only thinking about breathing into this top side lung? If you put all your attention just in that top side, with a real sense that that top side now is very spacious. Lots of room to expand. Wonderful. And we'll stay with this for just another 30 seconds or so. And then what I'd like you to do is get your arm moving again in whatever intuitive way it feels it might like to. So you can float it up again or bring it to your hip, rest it down on the floor, and then roll onto your back. So you just roll back over onto your back, because it's really interesting to lie on your back now. Spread your arms out wide and do a little compare and contrast between the left side and the right side. See what sensations you can feel across your upper back, having done that little asymmetric practice. And then when you're ready, I'd like you to roll to your other side. And I'm guessing that means you're going to roll so that you won't be able to see your screen anymore, but it really doesn't matter because we're going to do exactly the same thing. So you just roll over. You've still got your pillows under your head, and get settled on your other side. If you prefer, you can do what I'm going to do now, because I don't really like the idea of being able to look at the camera and put your props at the other end of your mat, if it would feel better for you to be able to see what's going on. But we're going to do just exactly the same thing on this side. So you get yourself comfortable. Make sure you're not squashing the shoulder that you're lying on. Slide your arm out from underneath you. Put your cushion between your knees. And then having a sense of the underside of your body getting nice and heavy. So you might be aware of all the points of contact between the body and the floor. You could yawn or sigh, and feel the connection between body and earth. And then this sense, if you like, of all the water in the body, all the fluid in the body, sinking down towards the earth. And it might take a little while, because just a moment ago it was all traveling in the opposite direction. So it's like having turned the sand timer over. So now all the fluid in the body is flowing the other way, sinking down towards the underside of the body, perhaps creating a feeling almost a bit muddy, a blurring of earth and water where the body meets the floor. And against that heaviness in the underside of the body, you can begin to invite a feeling of spaciousness and lightness in the top side of the body. And allowing something to grow out of the mud, you can let your top arm just float up. And once again, we're looking for not so much a stretching or a reaching or a striving, but just more of a kind of curious growing, exploring, finding the space above you. So you can wiggle your fingers or circle your wrist, or you might just not feel any movement at all is required, just letting the arm float up. It might take a little bit of experimentation to find the point where you feel, oh yeah, I can just let my arm be up there without really having to grip or to try. Keep your back teeth slightly parted. And pretty much doing this with as little effort as possible. No efforting. So legs relaxed, head resting on your pillows, and the arm just floats. And this might well be all you need. You may have no sense of needing anything else or any other movement, or you might find it would be nice to let that top arm explore around in a little circle of some sort, just almost like a sort of lassoing movement. Or you can do the variation where you put your fingertips on your shoulder and circle your elbow. Or you might find that you have your own variation that is completely unique to you and feels really good. That's what we're looking for, just something that feels really good, where you get a sense of bringing some nourishing movement to your shoulder. Sometimes the shoulder doesn't want or need movement. So again, if you are nursing an injury or discomfort in the shoulder and you need to adapt this to something that is more relevant to you, then go for it. So the movement is not necessary, but it might feel nice. Finding a movement that works for you today. And after working with a little bit of movement, I'm going to invite you again to find a place of stillness. So if you are able to get your arm in a position that really opens that top side of your body, perhaps by bringing your hand onto the pillows above your head, that's lovely. If that is not accessible to you at the minute for any reason, then it's more important that you really feel settled and comfortable. So have a little play around, see what options you've got, where you could rest that top arm now, just for a few moments of stillness and quiet. Eyes closed, jaw soft. And this wonderful sense that the top side of the body might be very open and spacious and free. And so placing the attention in the top side lung with a feeling almost like that lung we're doing all the breathing. Feeling the whole body very settled, heavy in the underside, light and spacious in the top side. No particular effort required. Sometimes the softer we can become, the more space we have to open, the more room there is within us for breath, for all sorts of other things, all sorts of other good qualities that we have more space for when we're softer. Kindness and patience, these sorts of things. Ahimsa, non-violence, first principle of yoga. Softening up, lovely. So we'll stay with this just another 30 seconds or so. And then once again, when you've finished, when you feel done, I'd like you to get your arm moving again in whatever way feels natural and intuitive and comfortable for you, and then to make your way back over to lying on your back. And you can keep the cushion between your knees. If you've got it, if you're using a cushion between your knees, you might as well keep it there. And again, come to lie on your back, spread your arms out wide and be aware of the sensations in your upper back. And then slide the pillows that you may well still have behind your head, slide them away and out from underneath your head. Or wiggle down so that your head comes down off your pillows. And we're going to do a little bit of a bridge pose, quite a simple bridge pose, but using a breathing pattern that can provoke quite a strong internal feeling in the abdomen, which, if you happen to be pregnant or menstruating, might actually just feel a bit much. So if that's you, I suggest you do this practice now with just a normal breathing pattern of inhaling coming into the posture and exhaling coming out of the posture, or just skip this part of the session and have a go another day. So you start lying on your back, knees bent and heels tucked quite close to your sit bones. And let's just warm up into this actually, but with the simple breathing pattern that I just described. So you would inhale, raise your arms and lift your hips by pressing into the feet. The cushions being there above your head is quite handy. Exhale, bring your arms back down and your hips back down. So let's do another 3 or 4 like that, just to feel into the movement and understand the direction of movement that we're going in. Again, concentrating on coordinating the movement with the breath. And if you can keep the cushion between your knees as you do this, even better. And at the end of your next exhalation, settle back down in the start position, arms by your sides, heels tucked quite close to your sit bones. And we're going to do exactly the same thing, but with a slightly different breathing pattern. So what I'd like you to do is start by breathing in. And then as you exhale, press into your feet and just lift your hips. So leave your arms by your sides. Then with your inhalation, take the arms above your head and you can let them rest on the cushions. Hold the position as you breathe out, squeezing on your cushion. And at the end of the exhalation, when all the breath's gone out, put your hips back down but leave your arms above your head. And now enjoy the inhale that follows. And with your exhale, bring your arms back down by your sides. And be at ease, let your breath settle. So I'm going to talk you through that another 3 times. If you find it's easier just to go at your own pace, you don't have to do it exactly the same time as me. If you find it's easier to follow my voice, then please do that. And if you find that this breathing pattern doesn't feel quite right for you this evening, leave it for now. So we start, in fact, start just by channeling your breath, using the Ujjayi breath. And then with an inhalation, you do nothing at all. Ready to exhale, press into the feet and lift the hips. Inhale, take the arms above your head and leave them there as you exhale and hold the position. At the end of the exhalation, lower the hips and then let the breath in. And exhaling, lower the arms all the way back down. Try not to rush that last exhalation. If you do feel a little bit out of breath by the end of that, have a little pause, let the breath settle. And then when you're ready, begin again. So you inhale, do nothing at all. Exhale, pressing into the feet, lift the hips. And then inhaling, take the arms. Can you feel how that opens the chest further? Stay for your exhalation. And at the end of the exhalation, put the hips back down. Then let the breath in. And exhale, lower the arms. See if you can get the fingertips of both hands to touch the floor at exactly the same time. One more time. Inhale. Then exhale, lift the hips. Inhale, raise the arms. Exhale, stay in the pose, squeeze your cushion. At the end of the exhalation, lower the hips. Then let the breath in. And exhaling, lower the arms all the way back down. And be at ease. Turn your palms upwards, let your breathing be free. You could roll your head a little from side to side. Okay. So here's where we get into, see if we can move from here to the next thing without disturbing ourselves too much. If you could reach up and take one of your pillows off the pile And you're going to place it now underneath your pelvis. So I suggest you do use one of these nice wide pillows and put it widthways, and you just tuck it under your pelvis. So your pelvis is lifted, but your head is down. And then the second pillow that is still there above your head, you get the end of that and you pull it over just the very top of your head. So it acts a little bit like a sort of sun visor. So it's just going to gently cover your eyes and also have a little bit of weight on your forehead. You might like to just put your hands behind the back of your head and lengthen out the back of your neck here. And then the pillow rests on your forehead. If that doesn't feel like a nice thing to do, obviously don't do it. But it can feel quite soothing. The cushion you have between your knees, you can keep it between your knees, but take your feet much wider now. Take your feet out towards the sides of your mat, point your toes towards each other, and let the knees roll inward and almost support each other. Spread your arms out wide and allow your eyes to close. We're going to stay in this supported backward bend for about 2 minutes. Not doing anything in particular at all. So we're looking for a shape in which you just feel, oh, that's nice. You feel supported. There's very little effort required. You can breathe easily, no special breathing technique, just normal breathing. And you might have a sense again of the underside of the body becoming more heavy and the top side of the body becoming more spacious. So if you feel the connection that you have to the earth through your feet, through the back of your pelvis, through the upper back, through the base of the skull, across the wingspan of your arms, and allowing the underside of the body to be heavy, so that the top side of the body now can be spacious, can be light. The lower abdomen and the upper part of the abdomen, space around the ribs, center of the chest, all very open and spacious, soft. And we're going to be staying here for just another 30 seconds or so. And then start to think about coming out. And the first thing to do is, if you have the cushion over your forehead, the pillow over your forehead, is just to slide that off and let your eyes gently open. And then the cushion that you have underneath your pelvis, if you can, lift your hips and slide it with your hands, push it towards your feet, far enough away that you can put your pelvis back down on the floor, but keep the cushion or the pillow squished between your sit bones and your heels, so you've still got the pillow there. And then what you might like to do is just roll your head to one side so you can see your screen and watch this whole little thing that I'm about to do. So I have designed this so that you don't have to get up off the floor unless you particularly want to, or you particularly need to. A little sequence of events to get us into a really good supported Shavasana. So step one, lift up the back of your head, and if you should, I hope, have a pillow here still, and you press that down, right down into the tops of your shoulders. Okay, so it comes right down to support just the tops of your shoulder blades here, right under the tops of the shoulders. Then take the cushion from between your knees, or grab a cushion if you can, and you get one of the pointy corners and you slide that right down to support the base of your neck. So the C7, T1 joint, lumpy bone there. So that pointy cushion goes in there. And hopefully what you feel then is quite a nice sort of support for the head and shoulders. We're looking for a situation where the forehead is slightly higher than the chin. So if that hasn't done it for you, you can put another cushion in just to support the occipital bone here, or a block or something. If it's going to be a hard thing, put it underneath the pillow so that you've still got softness for your head. But you want the forehead higher than the chin. Okay, then bend your knees in towards your chest and bring your pillow behind the backs of your knees and kind of tuck it in there. And this is quite nice as well to release the back. And while you're in this position, you grab one of your blankets, which you prepared earlier, opened it up, and you throw that over your feet. So it's tucked around your feet. Okay, then, you can't see this very well anymore. Then you put your heels back down on the floor, keep your pillow tucked towards your back thighs. So squish your heels up towards your sit bones, get the pillow nicely tucked in there. Take a second blanket, unless the first blanket was big enough to go over your arms as well. Take a second blanket, get that ready over your upper body. And you'll want your eye cover ready, although I don't recommend putting it on just yet, so you can watch this. You slide your heels away, it takes the blanket with them, and the pillow should end up just perfectly in the backs of your knees, or just above in the backs of your thighs. So you can let your legs stretch out, you can let your arms stretch out, you can cover up your eyes, and prepare for the practice of Yoga Nidra with a little bit of yawning or sighing, and a feeling of really letting go. So you were having the pillow tucked in behind your legs, hooking the blanket over your feet, putting your heels back down on the floor, taking the second blanket to cover your upper body, getting your eye pillow ready, and then sliding your heels away so it takes the pillow and the blanket with it, and you end up in a lovely supported Shavasana. With hopefully just minimal wiggling and fidgeting required to get the blankets just right, to get your eye cover just right. Yawning and sighing and getting settled and getting ready for Yoga Nidra practice. So I'm going to guide you through a relaxation practice in which there is really nothing at all for you to do. You don't particularly need to try hard. You don't even really need to concentrate. It's slightly less effort than concentrating. It's much more of a kind of curious attention, more like daydreaming really. You're just curious about, now what can you hear, as well as the sound of my voice? What other sounds might be available for you to hear in the space around you? There may be sounds close by that you can hear, and there may be sounds much further away. You may be able to hear things in the world outside your window, and to distinguish between sounds that are close to you and sounds that are further away. And then to simply hear all the sound together, as if just one sound, just welcoming in the soundscape of where you are right now, and your ability to perceive sound. And now be aware of the sound of your own breath. you may be able to hear the sound of your breath in your nostrils. And feel the touch of your breath in your nostrils. Cooler on the inhalation, warmer on the exhalation. Feel the breath inside the body. Being aware of how the body feels on the inside. And feel the contact between the body and the floor. The contact between the body and the earth. And feel that from the inside. Feel the touch sensation of clothing or blankets against your skin. Feel the skin all around the body. Being aware of your ability to perceive touch, felt sense. Being aware of all the touch sensations of this moment right now. And letting your attention just move around the body. It might be quite random where your attention moves to. Being aware of all the different sensations around the body. And now allow your attention to move in a more systematic way through the body. Beginning at the forehead. And then dropping down to the base of the throat. Out across the tops of the shoulders. And all the way down the length of both arms. To the thumbs. And then to each of the fingers in turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now returning your attention to the base of the throat. And allow it to move down the midline of the body. To the center of the chest. The center of the abdomen. The center of the pelvis. The pelvic floor. And then out into the hips. And all the way down both legs. Upper legs, knees, lower legs. Into the soles of the feet. And then to each of the toes, one by one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now bringing awareness to the back surface of the body. From the soles of the feet all the way up to the back of the head. And bringing awareness to the front surface of the body. Top of the head, all the way down to the tips of the toes. And now placing your attention on the top of the head, the very top of the head. Let it be like a light that you shine down over the whole of the body so as to perceive it more clearly. Perceiving the whole body now as one sensation. Whole body, all of the parts of the body all together, all the way through. And now look into the space behind your closed eyes. The warm, dark space behind the eyelids. Gazing into this space as if gazing into the distance. Noticing what you can see there. There may simply be darkness, or you may see colours or patterns. Again, just being curious about that. There's nothing that you should be seeing. Just having a sense of this space extending into the distance, as if without end, an infinite space. And having a sense of a similar infinite space extending back behind you, to the right side of you, to the left side, above and below. Resting now in this infinite space in which thoughts may well arise, but they feel very small. The space is infinite, but the thoughts are small. And you can rest. And now return your attention to your forehead, to the point between your eyebrows. And focus your attention there as if gazing at a steady flame. You could visualize here a candle flame or a point of light. And let your attention focus on that. Holding your gaze steady at the point between the eyebrows. Visualizing a flame or a point of light. A steady gaze, focused attention. And now let that go. And prepare to let this practice of Yoga Nidra go. Feeling again your body resting on the earth. Feeling the touch sensations of your clothing and blankets against your skin. Feeling the position of the body. And feeling the breath moving in and out of the body. Feeling the breath inside the body. Feeling the breath in the nostrils. Noticing what you might be able to smell. And you could lick your lips or run your tongue along your teeth. Listen to the sound of your breath. Maybe you make the breath noisier now, yawning, sighing, deepening your inhalations. And listen to the other sounds you can hear, the sounds nearby and the sounds further away. Listening to the sounds separately, naming the different sounds you can hear. And then listening to the sounds all together as if just one sound. Welcoming in all the sounds of this moment right now where you are. And gently wriggling the fingers and wriggling the toes. Know this practice of Yoga Nidra is now drawing to a close. Making intuitive movements that feel right for you at this moment. Maybe yawning and stretching, perhaps hugging your knees in towards your chest. or perhaps choosing just to remain where you are. Whatever you decide, know this practice of Yoga Nidra is now complete. This practice of Yoga Nidra has now ended. The practice of Yoga Nidra is now complete. And if you intend to get up, I suggest that you roll to one side and curled up on your side, allow your eyes to open. Letting in some light, the light by which you can see and perceive whatever there is to be seen in front of you, in the space in front of you. And as and when you can focus clearly, moving slowly and carefully, ease yourself up to sitting. And I'd like to share with you a little seated practice that can be done, again, kneeling as we were at the beginning of the session, or sitting in a chair, or just any position you're comfortable in with your torso nice and upright. And this is called the caring breath. And I thought it might be nice just to finish the session and connect with this chest space, heart space, which I will be talking more about next week. And to begin, you sit with the hands on your lap with your palms turned down. And you can use the Ujjayi breathing again, or if you're more comfortable, just a natural breath, either way. And then with an inhalation, you lift your left palm, and exhaling, bring it across the body onto the right side of your chest, and you can tuck your chin and slightly turn your head. You leave your hand here for a full round of breath in and out, touching and being touched. And then with an inhalation, you bring the palm forward again, and exhaling, turn it down, place it back down. So now inhale, right palm up. Exhale across the midline of the body to the left side of the chest, turning the head if that feels good. Staying for a round of breath in and out, touching and being touched. Inhale, bring the arm forward, turn the palm down, and exhale. Complete that round. We'll do one more round. So to each side, inhale, left palm up, exhale. To the right side of the chest, turn the head. Breathing into the right side lung. Inhale, lift the palm away, exhale, placing it back down. And then inhale, right palm up. Exhale across the body to the left side of the chest. Staying here for a breath, breathing into the left side lung. Inhale, lifting the hand away from the body, exhale, placing it back down on your lap, and then turn both palms upward. Close your eyes and pause for a moment to be aware of the sensations in the palms of your hands. And in a moment, I'm going to invite you to bring the palms of your hands over your eyes, so you're palming your eyes. You can let your face slightly rest in the heels of your hands, so your cheekbones rest against the heels of your hands. And I suggest you leave your hands in that position for 4 rounds of breath, or if you would like to, 4 soft hums, a little bit of brummery. So you inhale, lift the palms up, and then exhale, bring them over your eyes with a hum. Leaving the palms over the eyes as you continue to hum or softly exhale. When you've completed, let your eyes open behind your hands, and then just gradually open up your fingers to let some light in. And when you feel ready, you can take your hands away from your eyes, and then you can make a little circle with your arms. Bring the palms of your hands together and guide them into the center of your chest. Namaste.